The 18 Strong Podcast, episode number 123 with Olly Foster from Action Reaction Training.
And once people start to understand that they can be a little bit flexible with their food choices and it doesn't have to be chicken and broccoli, then it starts to become a way of life and they can start to enjoy food again.
Welcome to the 18 Strong Podcast, where you get direct access to the world's greatest experts on training harder, practicing smarter, and playing better golf. Now, here's your host, Jeff Pellizzero.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the 18 Strong Podcast, and I'm so glad to have you here for episode number 123, where we basically have a rock star in the health and fitness world in Olly Foster, our buddy from the UK. Olly's a senior personal trainer at the world-renowned Ultimate Performance and is recognized as one of the world's most well-respected professionals when it comes to nutrition, health, lifestyles, and especially body transformation. It's Olly's dedication not only to his clients, but to his own personal health and physique that have landed him on the cover of major health and fitness magazines like Men's Health and Muscle and Fitness multiple times over the years. Olly's also the creator of a massively successful 12-week online body transformation program, which he calls Action Reaction Training. And this program is literally changing people's lives and helping them achieve the body that they've always desired. And I encourage you to go to the show notes for this one to take a peek at the picture that's at the top of his website, or you can go to the Action Reaction Training website, and you'll see all the before and after pictures of the people that have gone through Olly's training program. It's stunning to see the changes that these people have made. So I definitely encourage you to go check that out. But even more cool is that Olly's a relatively new golfer. So he's pretty much caught the bug of golf, but he's gotten really serious about the game. So he's not just a novice, he's a very serious novice, and it has definitely dedicated a lot of time to improving his game. So he knows the pains and frustrations that you're going through on the course, off the course, and he actually uses it as a little bit of mental therapy, which he'll get into a little bit later on in the show. I'm so excited to have Olly on the show because I know how big of a deal this is for so many people. We all have our issues, our struggles with weight, with diet, with nutrition, body image, all of these things. So this is definitely the episode. If you've ever struggled with any of those, this is definitely the episode for you. And Olly's going to go pretty deep into a lot of these different topics and how he's changed and helped all the people that have gone through his program. So we get into so much more than just tips and tricks, but we get into the mindset, we get into frustration, even depression that surrounds this whole body image idea and the struggles that we all have. So we discuss the basics of the Action Reaction Training program. We discuss the nutrition principles behind it. And then we dive into some of the things that Olly's done that have changed in his program since becoming a golfer and realizing that he needed to switch a few things up in order to make his body ready to perform the golf swing and do it repeatedly. And so how has he shifted from the mental aspect and the physical aspect of training to be a fitness model, but also keeping some of those elements into his workout routine, but also adapting a little bit more for the performance side of the sport of golf. So there you get a little bit of both worlds. If you struggle with weight loss or workouts or nutrition or just how to tie it all together, I'm telling you, this is the guy to talk to. So without further ado, let's go ahead and bring in our buddy Olly Foster from Action Reaction Training. Olly Foster, welcome to the 18 Strong Podcast.
How are you, Jeff? Thank you for having me. It's an absolute pleasure to be here talking to you now. You've been a huge part of my journey so far when it comes to golf and golf fitness, so I'm honored.
Well, I'm flattered that you say that. You reached out to me, this was probably over a year ago or so, and just kind of mentioned that you had been listening to the podcast and you were just getting into golf, and then I went and obviously kind of checked out your profile, and I was like, whoa, this guy. You work at Ultimate Performance, or UP, which is a huge facility known around the world. You've done so many things in the fitness space and body transformation space. And so it was great just to connect with you, got to meet each other at the PGA show last year. And so I'm super excited to kind of dive into a topic that I've been finding out more recently. There's so many people that listen to the show and people in our little private community that are golfers, but one of the things that they really want to do is lose some weight or change the way that their body looks, as well as the performance side of working out for golf. But a big part of it is, hey, I want to look better, I want to feel better, I want to eat better, and I know that that's where you're such an expert. But then also we get to dive into you as the golfer and maybe some of the things that you've kind of changed in your own routine or things that you had to adjust and that you've experienced getting into the golf world. So before we dive into all that, just give us a little bit of background on you. I know you've got a history with rugby and kind of how you got into the fitness space, the fitness modeling space, and then where you are today.
So, yeah, I mean, as a child, I wasn't really into fitness or into sport, to be honest with you. And it wasn't until I was about 15, I had a sort of an experience in my life that changed that. And it was literally coming last one day in a cross-country race. And I was so devastated that I decided I need to do something about my health, about my fitness. So I got into training, and I got into the gym, and I got into rugby league, and that was something that I always wanted to do, play professional rugby league. It was the dream of mine was to do that. Unfortunately, I wasn't given the body to be able to cope with the demands of the sport. To cut a long story short, I was born with internally rotated hips, which means I had very tight adductors, and even though despite having several operations to try and lengthen them and some referral operations on the knees because of other issues that caused, it didn't work. So I went to university. I studied nutrition and health and decided that this was the industry that I wanted to sort of be in. Did my qualifications as a gym instructor and then built up to be a personal trainer. And I've been a personal trainer now for around 16 years. Working either part-time or full-time. It's something I've always been involved in, continually learning, never stop learning. And then it was maybe on the last operation that I had where I was still trying to play rugby on the side. I spoke with my surgeon. I had my own surgeon at this point, and he said, look, we can keep doing this little dance or you can just stop playing. So I thought, okay, thought about it, decided to quit playing at that kind of high level, of the intensity level that was required to be a professional them days, and stumbled across a men's health competition. I entered this competition. I trained for it first. I had a 10-week window to train for it, and it was a competition to be featured on the front cover. Trained for it for 10 weeks and then got invited to the final, and then from that, winning the final, I've managed to sort of get a few more covers and build up my sort of profile with regards to that and working in the side of the fitness model, which works very well hand in hand as it comes to being a personal trainer. It's marketing that money can't buy. So yeah, and I've been doing that for since maybe 2005 now. Really, to be honest with you, Jeff, I don't actually do much more of the fitness modeling side of things anymore. I'm focused more on my body transformation business and working on myself.
Awesome.
So. And
that's what I want to kind of jump into is the body transformation business, which is action reaction training, ART, or the ART program as you call it. And I see so many pictures that you post on Instagram, and it was just on your website, and you have amazing before and after results, pictures from people that have been through your program. So give us just a little background of what the program overall kind of is. We'll dive into some of the ins and outs and the pillars of it, but what is the kind of overall feature of it?
So the program itself is a 12-week body transformation program. It varies slightly from males to females, so the training plans do vary. But let's say if we take the male, for example, it's 4 different training phases and 5 different macro phases. So when a client signs up or registers, what happens is they'll send in their photos, their measurements with some general feedback. I can assess their current condition, and then what I do is I set their calorific intake and their macro ratios, and they use the manual as a guide over the next 12 weeks to try and improve on the areas that they're looking to work on. Now, every 2 weeks, we have a review system where they'll send in another set of photos, measurements, and most importantly, feedback. I need to hear what they're telling me. I need to know how they're feeling, what they're seeing, how they're sleeping, all these kind of things. And then from that, I can make adjustments and changes accordingly to keep eliciting a positive response. And that's how the program works, really. It's 12 weeks of continued support, accountability with guidance. There's always a care of responsibility on the client for them to actually learn. I don't spoon feed them. I want them to educate themselves with regards to nutrition and training. I think that's extremely important when it comes to after the 12 weeks, how they can maintain their results. Because essentially in the program guide that they get, although we market this program as a 12-week program, there's another 12 weeks after it. So it's essentially 24 weeks. But, if you try and sell somebody a 24-week program, everybody wants instant results now. So it doesn't really work. So the real success in the transformations comes at the 12-week is the halfway mark. But if they can maintain their results at the end of the 24-week mark, then that's the success of the program, because there's nothing worse than seeing somebody transform their body and then a few weeks later lose everything that they've achieved.
Yeah, it's so important that you mentioned the support factor, which I think is huge. We've been working with some guys here at 18 Strong, and the biggest thing that we've found regarding the feedback from them is, first of all, just having that support group. Having not just them be able to reach out to me or the people in our circle, but reach out to the other people that are in the same situation as them. And I know you guys have kind of a community forum that where people can share their frustrations, they can share their wins, their losses, and somebody else might be the one that gives them the solution to their problem, as opposed to Olly giving them every solution.
Yeah, exactly, completely. And that's the whole idea behind the support Facebook forum that we have. I mean, we've got nearly 300 plus members in there now, and people can relate to other people better than they can relate to me. When they can inspire and motivate when I might not be able to. And the shared posts on there is a huge factor when it comes to supporting people. It's something that, initially at first, obviously, when the numbers were smaller, we didn't know how it was going to work. But then as it sort of builds and people post more and more often, it's a community, and that community now runs itself. And it's something that we're extremely proud of at the ART.
Yeah, that's so great, and that's something that we're kind of building. And hopefully, by the time this episode airs, we might have some more information on the 18 Strong group that we're kind of working on. But another thing that the guys have mentioned, and just in my experience working with clients as well, and learning from people like you, it's often not necessarily so much the hardcore 12 weeks of what they're doing, but it's the habits that they develop over the course of those 12 weeks. What would you say are some of the pillars in the ART program that you really focus on as far as building the habits? And that might be food, that might be workouts, that might be several different things. But what would you say are the pillars in there?
I mean, I think the main pillar that we do is definitely with regards to nutrition, because that is where most people struggle. So as I mentioned before, I set calories and I set macros, but the manual and my support guides them on how to build a suitable diet plan based on their preferred food choices, their timings, time of day they wake up, rather than me providing a meal plan. Because if they're not eating foods that they enjoy, if they're not learning how to cook, if they're not understanding what a meal looks like, so when you look at a meal, for example, you need to roughly know what you're consuming. You don't need to know to the letter how many grams of protein or fats or carbs it has, but you need to have a rough idea and understanding of nutrition. And once people start to understand that they can be a little bit flexible with their food choices, and it doesn't have to be chicken and broccoli, then it starts to become a way of life, and they can start to enjoy food again. I think that's one of the most important things. From the training aspect of it all, it's very much a case of, I mean, there is 4 mandatory workouts that they need to do, but hey, we all live in the real world. If you can't make 4, then 3's better than none, 2's better than none. Mm-hmm. As long as you're doing something and working towards your goal, then you're still on the right path. Because like you said just before, it is about trying to change and form new habits, and that's not going to come overnight. And I never lie to clients. I never tell them what they can achieve, because from day one, I don't know what they can achieve. I never set unrealistic expectations, and I never ask them to set that on themselves either, because some transformations can be phenomenal physically, but I think one of the most proudest transformations I have the mental aspect of it as well. Yeah. How they look at food, how they feel about themselves. If you can change that, then that's a better transformation in my eyes than it is getting a 6-pack.
Absolutely. And, that whole mental side, because I know plenty of people that have gotten to that state where, they look really, really good. They've got the 6-pack, they've got the guns, they've got it all. But when they look in the mirror, they still see the flaws. They still see the issues. They're not necessarily happy with what they have yet. They're still, they look better than 99% of the people that they know, but they still are worried about that other little thing that they haven't fixed yet. And to me, that's where that mental shift and being able to enjoy the food that you're eating and the workouts and make it part of the journey and make it part of what you're, putting into your life that makes you happy, not just, I'll be happy once I get that 6-pack. I think is that's the thing, important.
Everyone, we all suffer from body dysmorphia to a certain extent.
Yeah, for sure.
And we all move the goalposts. So whenever we set ourselves a target, the closer we get to that target's already moved. And you're constantly chasing. It's just human nature to constantly chase. And I don't think we'll ever truly be happy in that sense. But if you can understand that and realize that and accept, and that's why we use the photos as well. So we use these fortnightly photos to compare them side by side so people can actually visually see the progress that they're making. Because sometimes, because you see yourself every day, you don't notice the changes as much. Even though you're taking the measurements and your clothes might feel looser or tighter in certain areas, you don't notice it as much as what you do if you look back at those original photos and think, Christ, you know what? I really have come a long way here.
Yeah.
And that's what keeps people going.
Yeah. So let's go into a little bit of the nuts and bolts of just some of your ideals that you utilize. And I know you said it can be pretty flexible based on different people, but nutrition-wise, what are some of the main things that you focus on, or some of the biggest issues that you see people dealing with that maybe when you make some tweaks, these are the things that you would change?
I mean, the first thing I try and change is what I want is clients to be what's called metabolically flexible. So whereby if you provide them with carbs or fats as an energy source, they can process and utilize either or. Now, most people, unfortunately, are insulin sensitive. So therefore, when you give them carbs, when you give them glycogen, their body doesn't utilize it effectively and they store fat. So most people, unless they've been through ketosis already, if what I've told us, I'll take them through a ketosis phase. And when I feel comfortable and confident that they are now starting to utilize and process fats as energy, I'll start to bring carbs back in gradually. The carbs are generally timed around workout, so post-workout or before bed to help elicit better night's sleep. And then build them back in gradually over the course of the 12 weeks. And then towards the end, we'll pull them back out again just to try to sort of glycogen deplete to get the last little bit sort of fat loss away from them. So again, it's kind of like training. It's periodizing the macros and the calories to keep eliciting response. So that, with regards to that, I'm a firm believer on not having anything starchy, carb-based or sugar-based for breakfast other than veg. Because my main goal with clients is to stabilize blood sugar levels and stabilize the energy levels throughout the day. So if you start with a fruit, let's say fruit for breakfast or any sort of starchy-based carbs, you're going to have a spike in blood sugar. And anything that goes up must come down again. So this is why people constantly crashing throughout the day. And my job is to try and keep that as constant as possible. So it's different from individual to individual on how they're feeling. So if they report back to me and say, I'm getting a little bit of a dip here in the afternoon, or I'm getting a dip here, I'll say, okay, well, what are you eating around this time or 2-3 hours before? Let's look at changing that with something else that they like. So it's very varied to the individual, and this is where the support comes in, Jeff. Without that support, without that guidance, it's impossible to be able to do what we do, what we achieve, and that's why there was talk previously in the past about maybe trying to release the program as just a manual and selling it on and letting people buy it at a cheaper rate and working by themselves, and that it doesn't work. It devalues the products and the product itself, and it's going to be pretty much impossible for them to get the same result.
Yeah, I think it's there's so many different manuals and DVDs and other workout programs out there, but when you tie in that support system and people have access to somebody like you and your team and the other people, it takes it to a completely different level where somebody might be in a Facebook group and they see a post of Jane saying, well, here's what I am committing to not eating anymore for this week. We're kind of doing a little challenge around that around the holidays here. And it's like, you see that, and that inspires you to also maybe pick something that you're going to refrain from. Going back to ketosis real quick, can you just briefly summarize what that is for us?
So ketosis would be, let's say, for example, if it was a male individual, I run ketosis at around 45% of the intake will come from protein, 10% from carbs, and then the other 45% will be from a fat source, ideally MCTs, medium chain triglycerides. And that's generally enough to elicit ketosis. You know, it's not completely eliminating carbs. We still allow veg, especially in the morning as well. I prefer veg to be with every meal, ideally. But that's generally enough for them to restabilize that insulin sensitivity levels that they need to adapt to, and then allow them to effectively utilize fats. Now, again, that process, it varies. It could take a week. It could take 2 weeks, 3 weeks. You know, once the client starts to tell me, you know, normally, for example, for the first week or so, the client might say, you know, I'm feeling a little bit low on energy, bit of a fog, bit of a daze. And then the week later, they'll say, oh, I'm buzzing. I've got energy all day now. And I'm like, right, bang, that's it. You're now utilizing fat effectively. Now I know I can start to drip feed carbs back into the diet slowly, and it will work for you. So yeah, so that's how I use the ketosis. But like I say, if they've been in ketosis before and they've come to me and they've told me that they've been having a ketosis diet, the first thing I'll do is I'll put carbs back in the system. Mm-hmm. I'll say, okay, you don't start on phase 1. I want you to start on phase 3 of the macro system that we have. So yeah.
That's great. And then if we start to look at just some components of the workouts, what are some principles that you tie into the different workouts that they do exercise-wise, or what are some of the things that we should focus on when we're looking specifically for fat loss as a goal?
Again, the workouts vary. It's not specific. Like, there's no magic bullet when it comes to a training program. It's just working the variables and working them correctly. So working the body as a whole. So the first thing is a mobility warm-up. Most people, they get on a cross trainer or they get on a bike and they do 5 minutes on that, and that's not very specific to the workout that they have in hand. So my main priority with most people, based on my own deficiencies and limitations as well, is to get the hips mobile and get the glutes firing. Try and lengthen out the hip flexors. Most people are always tight in this areas. You know, our lifestyle completely predicts this. It's killing us. I think we read that book. Sitting is the new smoking, isn't it? So that is so true. But it's getting the client to understand training with regards to the training variables. So one is overload. Make sure they're lifting enough weight based on what they're looking to achieve. But two is working to the reps, working the tempos, working the rest periods. I don't like throwing in fancy compound exercises, especially if I'm dealing with online clients. You know, things like deadlifts or full back squats. You know, 95% of the population that I see on a one-to-one basis when I screen them, when I do a functional movement screening test with them, can't do back squats effectively. They can't do deadlifts. So we do shortened versions of these. And the programs are, so, you know, there's upper body, lower body splits. There's lactic acid, glycogen depletion circuits in there. It is a mix of everything in there for everyone. And obviously, like I say, the males vary to the females. The males obviously have different target areas that they want to focus on. The females, again, they have different problematic areas that we try and focus on. And it's you know, but it's not set in stone. So even though the programs are preset in the manual, many times I have to change exercises based on equipment availability, but also based on injuries, or if somebody struggles to do an exercise, I'll say, right, well, look, send me a video of you performing the exercise. Let's see what's going wrong here. I'll have a look and I'll say, okay, well, this exercise isn't for you. Let's substitute that for this one. And we have a huge exercise video library database where we just send them a link so they can sort of click on that link and see how the exercise should be performed. Now, if they're working in a commercial gym, they should be able to go to any of the instructors anyways and say, look, I've got this exercise that I need to do. Could you help me go through this? And I advocate that. I tell them to go up to that trainer and say, can you help me go through this exercise and make sure I'm doing it right?
That's perfect. That's great having that support and being able to adjust and know that it's not always just one specific way to do it. There's so many different ways to skin a cat, as we say.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's where people get caught up or hook up on stuff. They think there's just one perfect way, and it just, in reality, it doesn't work that way.
Yep. All right, I want to get into talking about you as the golfer and, the things that you've kind of changed in your own workout program in just a second. But let's take a minute to thank our sponsors here at the 18 Strong Show. I just want to give a quick shout out to our sponsor for today's episode, which is Rad Roller, otherwise known as the home of the world's most advanced massage and release tools. Now, we all know how important our workouts and nutrition are, but one of the things that I've learned over the past couple of years, chatting with some of the best minds in health and fitness, like our guest today, Olly Foster, is how important our recovery and maintenance of our body is. And unfortunately, it's often completely overlooked. And one reason I'm a huge fan of Rad is that they make it so easy and convenient to do this. They have a wide range of products, but all of them are great to take with you wherever you're going, whether that be at the gym, the golf course, or on some kind of a business trip. Not only are they designed to be sleek and minimal, but these guys are so smart that they design them all to fit together or inside of each other. So the products actually make kind of a little carrying kit. So rather than needing an extra piece of luggage just to haul around all of your soft tissue tools, you can literally travel with a majority of the products bundled into a single yoga block, or the Rad Rod, which is the massage stick, slides right into the foam roller, which makes everything super compact. And you can also use it kind of like a rolling pin on your muscles. It's kind of crazy. I'm going to bet that the guys that created this either travel a lot or they were huge Transformer fans as a kid, the way that all this stuff mixes and matches together. Maybe that's kind of the subconscious reason why I like these products so much. Anyway, if you use any kind of soft tissue or massage tools and you haven't checked these products out, I'm telling you, you got to go to radroller.com and browse around. Of course, use the code 18STRONG. If you decide to get any of your products, you'll get a discount. One other reason I'm a huge fan of this company is that I know how hard they're working behind the scenes, not just to make the products great, but also to make sure that the people that are using them are educated on using them the right way. I know there's a lot of trainers and medical professionals listening to the show, so you guys will appreciate this. These guys have created a complete educational platform and certification to make sure that we, the professionals, as well as the other people that we're working with, are all using these products most effectively, which I think just goes to show how dedicated they are to their mission. And especially as exciting for us is that our buddy Nick Mueller, a.k.a. the Mobility Caddy, is the driving force behind a certification program that they're specifically making for working with the golfer. So stay tuned for a course that's most likely coming to your city in the near future, or if you're interested in hosting a course maybe at your facility, all you got to do is go to radroller.com and either send them an email at service@radroller.com, or if you want more information on the educational platform, just go to the homepage, hover over the education portion, and you'll find all the information there. So again, be sure to use your code 18STRONG. All right, let's get back to our guest, Olly Foster. All right, Olly, so obviously you've been in the body transformation game for so long. You've been in the gym but for many, many years, but just recently you have picked up the game of golf. Am I correct?
You do, yeah.
Last couple of years, I'd say?
No, not even that. End of August last year. So what's that? That's 15 months now. 15 months I've been playing.
And what kind of prompted you getting into golf?
Oh, okay. So this is quite an interesting story from that point of view. So when I did the fitness modeling, I used to place a lot of pressure on myself with regards to being self-obsessed with how I looked. And when you do that, when you constantly feed yourself negative thoughts with regards to aesthetics, if you're constantly restricting yourself of certain foods, removing yourself from environments you can't control, it has a negative effect. So maybe about 4 years ago, I saw somebody and they said, "You're suffering from depression." And, you know, it's quite common now, but it's still quite taboo to talk about it. But I have no issues talking about it. It's not like I go around shouting about it. It's just if anybody talks to me, I'll be open and honest. So I tried medication. It didn't really work. It didn't agree with me. I actually thought I was stronger than that. I thought I could fix the problem myself. I created the problem so I can fix it. So I had therapy. I had therapy once a week for a couple of years. And then last year I moved from London to Manchester. I didn't really get on with the therapist that I was seeing there. And where we moved, on the back end of the garden, we had a golf course. So I thought, you know what? I used to go to the range with my dad as a kid. I used to watch him hit balls, and I used to think, I never actually played, never had a lesson, but I thought I'm going to get myself a set of sticks, have a lesson with the local pro. And I played around, and it was the best thing I'd ever did. And as with anything in life, I like to read. I like to get as much information as I can. And then I came across Bob Rotella, started reading his books and how life and golf are very similar. They intertwine. If you can approach life like you can approach golf and vice versa, how you become a better person. And so golf now is my therapy. I'm a little obsessed with it, but I'm very passionate. I'm willing to put in the time. I'm investing a lot of time and a lot of money in trying to improve because, as you know, I'm not trying to sound big-headed, but I think I've got a natural ability, and I wish I'd started when I was younger.
Yeah.
But yeah, so this is my golf journey now. I've set myself some short, medium, and long-term goals, and I'm going to try and stick to them as best as possible.
Well, it's cool. We were talking before we got on the air here just about, you working with a coach and seeing a couple different coaches and just like in the fitness world, finding that one person that resonates with you and that you can learn from, you trust them, and sticking with them, and then putting together those goals and those plans. It's much like what you do with your own personal clients.
Yeah, very much so. Very much so. It's easy. I mean, I was obviously when I was in Manchester, I saw a couple of guys in Manchester, and both helped me out very much. It's dependent on location. So this is how bad it got when I was even just in Manchester. So I had 5 different range cards depending on where I was at that time of day. I had 2 different coaches again, depending on where I was at that time of day, so I could easily go. So I controlled that environment, so I can constantly train or practice even. And then coming to London, I've got a coach, Lee Cox, who's actually the coach of the world long drive champion, Joe Miller, who just won over away. But we're not working on the long drive with me. We're working on the game as a whole. As much as I'd like to smash it down the fairway as far as possible, it's actually my, what's the word on that one? That's actually my kryptonite right now. Even though I can hit it a long way, I can't control it when I'm too aggressive.
Right.
So yeah, so I see Lee maybe once a week, if not once every 2 weeks, and we choose something and we work on it. And now I'm trying to build the game up as a whole, as opposed to just a swing. So we've been working on the swing for a long time, and now I'm practicing uphill, downhill lies, ball above, ball below my feet. So actually learning how to play the game, not just hit the ball, which is what's so important when it comes to golf, obviously, as you know. That's
so important. I think that's a big piece that many of us miss when we're practicing. We tend to just go to the range and work on our form, our swing, and what the ball shape looks like, but actually learning.
I have to admit, Jeff, listening to your podcast, you've taught me so much about how to approach the game of golf. Block practicing is random practicing, how to quality over quantity, and little things like that. So the guests that you have on have inspired me to keep moving forward, and they continue to inspire me and also help me ingrain the learning patterns that I need as for the game as a whole.
Wow, that's so great to hear that you somebody who is on the show right now, inspiring many, has been inspired by many of the other guests. So regarding your training, as far as your fitness training, are there any adjustments that you've had to make specifically to help your golf game and the things that you're doing in your golf swing?
Yeah, I mean, I had to make a few changes initially a couple of years ago when my back blew out. So it's probably 3 years ago, actually 3 years this time of year, my back went L4, L5, lateral prolapse. Had the scan and they were like, you need surgery. And I'm one of these people where I know when you have surgery, especially on the back, it's kind of once it's fused, that's it, you're very limited. So I worked very hard with physio twice a week for 6 months to get myself out of that position. And then I had to analyze what caused the issue. So I changed my program for that a couple of years ago. And then when I went to do the TPI training course in Florida at the PGA show where we met up earlier this year in January, I started to understand the body in relation to golf. So my training's very much changed to work on those limitations that I have with regards to the setup of the golf swing. So I work at the moment, I have a lower body, upper body day twice a week, and then midweek I work on rotational power. But again, it's nothing overly complicated. They're quite fundamental, basic exercises that most people, regardless of whether you play golf or not, should be doing. And a lot of these exercises I've applied to my clients, the ones that don't even play golf, because it allows you to understand the body a lot more and how it should move in a better, more functional way. I think once I stopped playing rugby, I became very one-dimensional. I could move backwards and I could move forwards, and that was about it. And when I first started playing golf, it would probably take me about 2 days to recover before I could probably swing a club again. I'm at the point now where I do something pretty much every day. I try and dedicate at least 2 hours of my day to golf every day. Whether that's reading, playing, it's something.
What are some of just to give the audience some specifics on a few of those exercises that you've integrated into your program with yourself and with some of your clients? What does that look like? I know you mentioned that before you're really good forward and backwards in your training. What are some of the other things that you've implemented?
So at the moment, I work a lot on glute activation, get the glutes firing. Once I've done that, I can do a lot of unilateral, so single leg based exercises that requires mobility and stability at the same time. Another weak part of my body before was my TVA, so I've been working on trying to improve that. I do a lot of things like anti-rotational exercises where I'm moving trying to keep myself in a fixed position, but actually moving as well at the same time. I don't know if you've seen some of those exercises. Of course you have, yeah. But these are the kind of things that I'm doing now. I still throw in some aesthetics-based exercises. I still train the guns. I still get a little bit of a pump on and all this kind of stuff. But I try and do most of my stuff standing. I think I sit down too much already during the day when I'm at home or whether I'm traveling. So I try and do a lot of the stuff, in an upright position, and it just challenges me that little bit more.
That's great. That's something that I know Jason Glass talks a lot about. Is not always supporting yourself on a bench or a chair or something like that. When you're golfing, you're standing. You need to learn how to develop power from that position through your legs, support yourself, stabilize. The anti-rotation type stuff can be so important and effective when you have to try to rotate this club around you at 100-something miles per hour and be able to figure out that balance. I think that's so important to be mentioned. I want to kind of take a little bit of a case study here, if you don't mind. So let's take a guy who's likely listening to the show, somebody that's maybe 35 to 45 range or so. They're a golfer. They love playing golf. They're working out primarily because they want to improve their golf game, but they also realize that they need to lose about 15, 20 pounds or so. What are some of the things that maybe they should focus on more in their training and nutrition? And what are some of the things that, might be part of a golf or fitness program, but might not be quite as important for the guy that's also looking to lose the weight?
So, from a training point of view, obviously there needs to be assessed, but I think most of the time, like we said, is most people have poor glute activation, so we need to work on that, and also lengthening, because generally the hip flexors are quite tight, the rec fem's quite tight, so we need to try and sort of lengthen out that area again. But most people as well have lack thoracic rotation. So we need to look at improving that, and that just has to be dynamic movements. It doesn't have to be under sort of any heavy weight loading bearing exercises. We just need to get them moving freely again and start to understand the body and feel the body. Most of the times when people do an exercise, they don't really know what the purpose of the exercise is. Even though if you look at them visually, they might look like they're performing the exercise right, but if they're not feeling it in the right place, then they're not working the right muscles. So we need to try and get that mind-body connection going. From a nutritional point of view, you can't be too aggressive with golfers, especially at any level really, because if you're too aggressive, it's going to affect performance. And also, if there's any rapid weight loss, that's going to affect the swing characteristics as well, because obviously the center of mass, your body mass, has changed. So we have to make sure that we make changes slowly but progressively, and the changes that they make, they can maintain as well at the same time. And it's one of those, Jeff, where I advocate working, when I work with any golf individuals, I want to work with them. I want to work with the swing coach. I want to work with the physio. We need to work as a team collectively, so we're all talking to each other at the same time and making sure the changes that we're all making are heading in the right way.
Have you started working with a lot more golfers over the past year or so?
I've been working with a couple. It's still the bulk of my time is working online right now, and I still have my own body transformation clients that I work with at UP. But I do work with a couple at the golf club that I'm a member of, and the changes that they see, I mean, almost immediately, they go away for a week, and I say, right, I need you to do this before you go to bed. Just a mobility and dynamic movement set up warm up pattern that I've got for them. They call it a warm up, but they can do it before bed as well. They become a lot more mobile, and instantly they're telling me they're hitting the ball further. And that is a goal. Of course, that's a goal, but that's ultimately not the first selling point that I want them to have. I just want them to be able to move effectively. But yeah, I think that's one of the reasons why I prefer working with amateurs as opposed to any professionals. I've assessed a few professionals since I did my TPI, and they have very little limitations. They're already very elite. But when you work with an amateur, it becomes hugely rewarding because they can make such a massive change in such a short period of time. It's one of the best things that you can see.
I would 100% agree with that. And I feel like that's more of the population that comes to us here at 18 Strong. It's not like Jordan Spieth is coming to the 18 Strong podcast to learn about what he should be doing working out. But for the guy that, has kids, has a family, is struggling to find time to get in the gym, just to be able to find some tips, just like you said. And I think the mobility thing has become so important, and I've really recently been implementing some of that with my clients, and just teaching them to do almost a daily practice, which sounds exactly like what you're doing. Get them to do it before they go to bed or when they wake up in the morning, and just something that simple. There's one guy in particular I can think about, and he came in, he was super tight, and we just started getting him on some of those type of things, just moving his hips on a daily basis, working on the range of motion. And he's like, Jeff, I'm taking divots. What's the deal? We didn't work on my swing at all. And I'm like, you're literally just moving better, and now your body's able to get in better positions, which obviously would equate to hitting a ball better, farther, swinging faster, more balance, everything everybody wants, right?
Exactly, and that's I think that's the thing. And once they become aware of the body and how it moves, it has a huge impact on everything else in their life. So I have loads of little tips that I give clients, but most of my clients are office-based. So I say to them, look, set an alarm for every 55 minutes. For 5 minutes, I want you to stand up away from your desk. I want you to think about your posture. What are your shoulders doing? Where's your head at? Is it down? Is it up? I want you to walk around. If the phone rings, you answer the phone and you stand and you walk whilst you talk. Little things like this can have a huge impact collectively over a longer period of time that they just don't realize. And it's just making them aware of that and, how important the body actually is when it comes to golf. Because unfortunately, especially in this country, Jeff, it's, you guys are a little bit more advanced over there. It's still quite taboo when you talk about fitness and golf. It's still quite a hard sell trying to say, look, I can improve. Oh, yeah. I mean, even you've got the likes of, Tiger in the day and Rory and all these guys coming through that advocate fitness. It's still hard trying to get these guys to come in and see you. It's only now recently where I'm getting people to have an effective mobility warm-up before they play, rather than wasting 4, 5, 6 holes of the course as their warm-up before they start to get into that swing pattern. But it's one of those, I walk around, I talk as much as I can. I try and give out as much free information and help them out. They see me on the range, they see me hitting balls, and they say, oh, how can I do this? How can I do that? And I say, look, well, come in, have a consultation with me. I can discuss and we can go through it all.
That's great. All right, my friend, we're going to finish up with some quick fire questions, as I like to call now the John Daly round, where we have a little party in the back, just like his haircut. So first and foremost, you know this question: Caddyshack or Happy Gilmore?
Happy Gilmore. Yeah. With me being from the UK, Happy Gilmore, I think it's always.
I am finding that all the guys from over the pond are leaning much more towards Happy Gilmore.
Especially with my age as well. I watched Caddyshack when I was a kid, but Happy Gilmore, it was funny. Adam Slander, he was peak at the time. It's just a feel-good movie. Yeah.
All right, so you're the body transformation specialist, fitness model. What is it? What's your weakness? What's your kryptonite when it comes to food or drink or anything of the sorts?
Oh, food. There's loads when it comes to food. I have a bad obsession for M&Ms, peanut M&Ms right now.
Yeah.
So I'm probably eating, I shouldn't really be saying this, but I'm eating at least 150 grams of them every day.
That's right.
I tried to curb it. I cut down to buy 40-gram bags. I ended up having a couple, and then there was a sale on the 300-gram bags, so I bought them, and I had to stop that. So yeah,
See,
I think it's just,
it's good. It's good to hear that somebody like you, which my cousin Ryan, co-founder of 18 Strong, he likes to call you the most ripped man he's ever met in person.
Okay.
That we all, we have our struggles. I think that's important for the audience to see too.
I think so. You have our struggles, but from an aesthetics point of view, it hasn't affected me at all. Because collectively, over the end of the day, I still know what I should be consuming. I don't calorie count. I don't need to calorie count now because it's already in my head. I've got that. I can do it all regardless of that. And that's where I struggled before in the past. If I had a bag of M&Ms, 10 years ago when I was at the peak of my being neurotic days, it affected me, but it affected me more mentally than physically. And I think that's when you can understand the power of the mind and how that can control everything else, then that's when you become better in life in general.
Yeah, totally agree. If there was one daily habit that you have instilled in your routine that you would say has really kind of made you successful in whatever you want to do, this could be in fitness or nutrition, or this could be golf, this could be something else. What's one daily habit that you've really adopted?
Finding time, so block booking time. So, people come to me and say they don't have time. It's not that you don't have time. It's just that you don't know how to find time. So if you want anything in life, you have to adapt a plan and block book your days accordingly and adhere to it to make sure you stick to it. Because it's very easy to get sidetracked. So, I'm quite an early riser. I'm up at 4:30 most mornings and, bed by 10. But I make sure that when I wake up in the morning, I know exactly what my day is going to consist of and what gaps I have to work on myself or to work on the business, to work with my clients, to work on my knowledge. It's all set out in stone in front of me. And that's actually something that I incorporated by reading a book called Mini Habits. It was, it's a great book and it just allows you to plan more effectively to make sure that whatever you're looking to achieve, you can stick to it.
That's so great. That's something that I've definitely been working on in my own personal life, but also working on with clients and just people that, I connect with through the show and really try to promote a lot of that here on 18 Strong as far as this isn't just about golf. This isn't just about fitness. This is about just your lifestyle in general. And if you want to be a great golfer and you want to be fit and healthy, you have to be able to find the time to do these things. So I think that's awesome.
Yeah.
All right, if you had the chance to play 18 holes of golf with anyone in the world, past, present, or future, who would it be, why would you pick them, and where would you play?
Oh, where would we play? So, it'd have to be Tiger. I before I even played golf, I had a huge amount of respect for Tiger, just because he was a supreme athlete. The domination that he had in the sport was unrivaled, really. And now that I play golf, and I understand the components of how hard it really is. It was, without a doubt, it's the hardest thing I've ever done from a physical and a mental side. So now I understand both of those. I'm even more in awe of somebody like Tiger. So it'd have to be Tiger. I'd love to see his what's going on in his head when he's playing. Courses wise, I'm not really, I'm still quite new to the game. It'd probably have to be, and everyone probably says it's Augusta or something, I think that'd be a chance in a lifetime to even get on that course. So given the opportunity, then yeah, definitely.
Yeah, definitely been the number one answer on the show so far.
See why, yeah.
All right, my friend. First, I want to thank you for coming on the show, and I just am floored by the amazing results that you guys are getting with the Action Reaction Training Program and everything you're doing. And it's been inspiring to see you on your journey, your golf journey as well, and I'm learning through you, through the body transformation stuff, but also love just kind of seeing what somebody in your position that has so much experience in this world of fitness, nutrition, what you're doing to then implement to make your own golf game better and take some of these principles that we've talked about here on the show to make yourself better. Where can people go to find out more about your body transformation program, and where can they follow you online, social media?
So the body transformation program is www.action-reaction-training.com. My personal Instagram is Olly Foster Fitness, as is my Facebook. The business, the ART, is just Action Reaction Training. That's on Instagram as well. They're the main sort of social media sites that we operate on. Social media, I love social media, but I hate it at the same time. I try and put up as much information as I can. I'll always respond to any emails. If anybody wants to get in touch with any questions, my email is available on the website. So just shoot me over, hit me up. I'm more than happy to answer any questions you might have.
Awesome. Well, thank you again for taking the time to come on the show. It's been an honor just getting to meet you, getting to know you, and to finally get you on here on the podcast.
No, thank you, Jeff. The honor is definitely all mine.
You got it, buddy. We'll talk very soon.
Thanks, mate. Take it easy.
I want to thank you for joining me and our special guest, Olly Foster, for today's episode. Hopefully you got a lot out of it. I know we talked about a lot of different things regarding body transformation, leaning out, getting stronger, making your body more ready to perform on the golf course. So if you want any more information on Olly and the Action Reaction Training Program, or just to get in touch with him, you can go to his website. We have all his contact information on the show notes page, which is episode number 123. So you can either go to 18strong.com and search for Olly or 123, and you will definitely find this episode. I want to mention something that I haven't talked about in a little while, a gift that we have for you here at 18 Strong, and that's our complete at-home warm-up. In case you don't have a routine that you already do before going to the course or getting ready, we have a full-blown video warm-up. It's about 20 minutes. It goes through some foam rolling stuff. It goes through just a whole dynamic warm-up that's perfect for you to do at home, right before you jump in the car to go to the course. Or you can definitely do it on the driving range. It does have some foam roller stuff and some other dynamic warm-ups that are perfect to get your body ready so you don't have to wait 3, 4, 5, 6 holes before you actually feel like you're swinging and moving well. So you can find that at 18strong.com/warmup. All one word, warm-up. Go ahead and get that. All right, I want to thank you again for joining me, and we will catch up next week with another super special guest with a crazy and amazing background, a Navy SEAL sniper instructor, and he tells us how golf can save your life and share some mental tips and tricks that you can use that the Navy SEALs also use in order to drop scores on the golf course. All right, train hard, practice smart, and play better golf.
Thanks for listening to the 18 Strong podcast at www.18strong.com. And remember, train hard, practice smart, and play better golf.